We are back continuing our discussion about Governor Malloy's plan for education reform here in Connecticut. And, I mean, if we could continue with Leo's point, which I find very interesting, as an outsider, hearing about teachers' plea for basic things like pens and papers and whiteboards. I guess, is the governor addressing that by his intentions to send more money to the, is that?
He's addressing it partially. I mean, we can't hold people accountable for something and then don't give them the tools to accomplish what we want them to accomplish. That's true of teachers, it's true of principals, true of superintendents, and we're all in that same boat. And our organization, I'm sure all the others, are really pushing for more funding for schools because we need that. We've been level funded at the state level now for 4 years in a row. That has had a major impact on what's going on in school systems. And in those school systems that serve the neediest kids, it's had the greatest impact. Hartford being one of those systems. Exactly. So obviously we all agree that there needs to be more funds, and in fact what we're building into the evaluation process is a situation that says if you don't get the support and the help you need, including the financial support, you can't be held accountable then for results. So there's accountability all along the line here. Accountability for teachers, principals, superintendents, boards of education, and for the community at large to fund the schools the way they need to be funded.
You mentioned...
I'm sorry, Joe, don't we have to ask ourselves, I mean, with the amount of money that we invest in education in our state, how can it be that we have teachers in our schools who are operating with the resources that we might find in say, a third world country? I mean, don't we have to ask ourselves, there are parts in the bill that actually pay attention to needing to have systems where we know better how our money is being spent. And are the right schools getting the right resources at the right times for the right things? That's a part of the bill that's not been discussed at all.
That's exactly it, and that's the point I'm trying to make, is that the things that will have the most impact and the most difference in the outcome are the ones that we're just not really having that dialogue about yet. And we have to.
We need to drive the money we have as close to the classroom as we can drive.
Exactly.
And that means some structural changes in how we do business. Our organizations call for those, and hopefully we can move in that direction.
And I mean, my union in particular and the Education Association are ready to step up to the plate. And I mean, you look at our issues in New Haven and what we did on that respect. And New Haven was a fairly good school system, but I'll tell you the major difference between New Haven and now is that our union went in with the mayor, the superintendent, and all of his people in a very respectful environment. They spent time building a trust level between each other that no one was going to be out to get each other in any way, shape, or form. There were no bad or harsh words anywhere. And they worked together just like adults should to come up with a good plan. And this is a long process. We negotiated that agreement a long time ago, and that was a framework. Then you had implementation. Then you have to do testing. Then you actually have to evaluate to see whether or not it achieved the goals. So what we would do, and all we have right now, coming out of this, will be not much more than a framework that we then need to add the details to. But getting back to the real issue about making sure we're focused entirely on the classroom and helping the kids and doing the things that we all know need to be done. We know what needs to be done. We just seem to not want to do it, and that's the problem. That's what I don't understand, and you've hit the point.
It's interesting that you said that, because I think that was a refrain that the governor has said several times in his education hearing.
Well, the problem is really systemic. It isn't the people involved. The people in education don't get up in the morning and say, how are we going to hurt children? They're really interested in helping them. We need to change the system. And a lot of what the governor is proposing gets at systemic change. We need to go further than that. There's no question about that. But if we can address the systemic issues and make our system learner-centered so that we start off with what's best for kids and then work out from that. I think that's what happened in New Haven in the discussions there. Exactly. I think we get a lot further.
And my union spends a lot of time in the science and looking around, seeing what's working. And in fact, you know as well as anybody that we had our national union in there working with us on that whole project. And it was a laboratory for some new innovation. And we were committed to see it through. We have to do that same thing on the state level. Unfortunately, it started out the wrong way, but I have every hope that we're going to end the right way.
Well, and Leo, to your point, you can't legislate collaboration. You can though, put things into law that would have made the work that happened in places like New Haven go a lot smoother and perhaps move faster. But you're right. I think we need both. We need that spirit of collaboration at the leadership level, and then we also need to codify the right things in law that will help support those kinds of changes.
There's also prioritizing funding. Now, it's great that the governor's funding 500 seats for early childhood. We got 40,000 kids every year at single-digit ages. So let's see, 500 kids times 40,000, that means 80 years from now, if we do 500 new seats a year, we'll be done. We have a huge, huge economic work job-related program here, or deficit in here in terms of the talent. We need to have 40,000 kids in child care right now, or in early childhood right now. And so those are the kinds of things that we need to start saying, what are we spending the money on? What's going to have the biggest impact? Let's get it where it really counts.
But let me suggest something. Right now, all the debate is happening among the policymakers. And those of us who are outside the policy thing are sort of standing outside yelling at each other to a certain extent. Not yelling necessarily.
We're all agreeing.
Well, here we are, but I mean, but some of the stuff we put out doesn't quite fit that mold. Why don't we get together outside the policy thing? And if we could go to the legislature, and I'm sure that our organizations and yours would be willing to do it, if we could go to the legislature with a solution, they'd be very grateful. And they wouldn't have to worry about it. And certainly we've been committed to that from the beginning. We're open to a dialogue with anybody on any issues, and if people want to talk about it, we're here.
There we go. Oh, I hear the governor calling right now. He wants us to just jump in and fix it, so let's go do it.
Let me bring up a point, though, that there does seem to be some pushback from both sides on, and that's something that we hear from our viewers and our readers, and that's about the collective bargaining, because the plan does supersede current collective bargaining law. And, I mean, are you hearing from your members that they're worried about what that means, or...?
Well, union members have many more rights at work, a bigger voice at work. They have the ability to do things that most non-union workers don't when it comes to making sure that they have a great place that they can feel secure in. There's a huge amount of insecurity that's coming out of a lot of the different proposals. Will they all be in there? Who knows? But the fact of the matter is our members know exactly that issue, which is a blown out of proportion issue about tenure. They know how it works. They know how the evaluation works. Most teachers who have been there for 10 years or more have gone through education reform or new ideas 10 times. You have a superintendent that's in for 2 or 3 years. They have this whole new program. They leave. They need to get another whole new program. So there's lots of uncertainty that comes into those areas. And our members want to see that there's some level of certainty and security that they can have. And they're perfectly willing to bust out of all boxes if they can feel good about the ground they're standing on when they get in or out of that box. And so that's what our issue is.
Yeah, and I think it focuses in on the 30 lowest performing schools and what the proposals are there. I think the objective there is to make sure that everybody in those schools, first of all, wants to be there.
Right.
And secondly, is able to do the job. If we focus in on that as the objective, I think we can get by some of the stuff that's been proposed and put some language in that, you know, makes teachers feel more comfortable, and at the same time make sure we serve the kids in those schools where, you know, for 5 or 6 years there's been no improvement in achievement. Obviously, we need to do something about that.
Right. And the part of the security that will make teachers really want to be there, the number one issue, and I'm sure you've heard it too, is the level of support that they get in this environment.
Absolutely.
If you have to dig a hole, the least you could do is give someone a shovel.
Right.
And most of the teachers in those classrooms don't have the shovels to begin with, so I say, I don't want to be here. And so you know what the statistics about turnover is as well as I do.
That's right.
And it's awful.
Yep.
We have very few people, you know, many fewer people start teaching than end up in the tenure track and retire from teaching. And what you find is that there is a good period of time during a teacher's career where they're the best. And we're not keeping people during that best time.
Yep.
And so we need to do the things to help them want to stay there, and that's by giving them support and help.
We are out of time. We obviously could go on and on. I appreciate all of your comments and the polite conversation that we had over a very emotional issue. Thanks to all of you.
And you're going to donate on DonorsChoose.
Yes, I know. I just said that, so I will now.
Now we'll go outside and yell at each other.
Exactly. On the way out. Take it outside. Thanks a lot, all of you. Up next, another emotional issue at the Capitol. The debate over the death penalty is heating up.